very disciplined spiritual monk. In the monastery he was in, he just didn't think that he was getting enough spiritual guidance. And so he wandered around Holy Land until he found this monastery on the edge of the Palestinian desert. And he asked when he came to the monastery, he asked the abbot if he could stay. And the abbot said, well, why would you want to stay? Well, you have things here that can help me with my life in Christ. It was a very severe monastery. They had a very bare table. It was really a monastery of very poor men. So anyway, he was there several years, and one of the customs was that on Forgiveness Vespers, the steward would give them bread or dates or whatever, and all of the monks, except for 2 that stayed, just to maintain the services. And they would wander around the desert, just with mere food, praying in order to prepare themselves, and they would arrive back at the monastery for Lazarus Saturday. Well, Zosimos kept hoping that he was going to find some wise hermit who, living in a hermitage by himself for many years, would have wisdom to give to him. And he saw a person in the distance, and the person, they let their hair grow and covered their body, but otherwise they were naked. And he tried to follow them because he wanted the blessing of this person who was so holy living in the desert. And of course Mary tried to get away because her body was showing. And finally he screamed at her, stop, and she stopped. And he told her he wanted a blessing, and she said, you're a priest, you need to bless me. But she said, I can't come near because I'm not clothed. And so he threw her his ragged, because the monks in the monastery he was living in now literally lived in rags, he threw his ragged cloak like a cape to her, and she put it on. And that was the beginning of a journey that the 2 of them made together. She asked for his blessing and for his prayers, and he insisted that she tell him her story, which she did. And she talked about being a party girl and so on, and being overcome with guilt and shame before the icon of the Theotokos. And they talked for a long time, and strangely enough, she knew verses of the Bible, and she'd never read the Bible. She knew the Psalms from beginning to end. She knew who the abbot of his monastery was. She knew things that happened in his monastery because God had given her clairvoyant wisdom and so on. But she begged him to come back the following year on Pascha and to not go walking in the desert again, because she didn't want to encounter him again, but to the place by the Jordan. He would bring her the body and blood of Christ. So a year later, he shows up at the Jordan, at the place, and he's praying all day because no Mary. And just before sundown, he sees a figure in the opposite bank, and he wonders, how the heck is she going to get across the Jordan? Because it was wide at that point. And he makes a blessing to her across it. She prays, makes a matinyon, and steps on the water. And she walks across the water to him. He serves her communion. And he gives her a blessing. And she asked him to one promise. The following year, when it comes time to do the trek in the desert, that he will come to the place where he first met her. And he promises that he will. And she walks back across the river and disappears. A year later, when he shows up in the desert and finds that place, her body is lying in repose. And she has crossed her arms the way you're supposed to be buried as an Orthodox. And she has written in the sand around her, would he please read the funeral prayers over her body and bury her. And he's ancient, like me, and he figures there's no shovel. He gets a stick and tries to start, and he makes no headway because the ground is hard under the sand. And he says, Lord, how am I going to do this? I have to fulfill my commitment to her. And a lion comes up. And the lion is not aggressive toward him. And he prays and he tells the lion, please help me dig the grave. And the lion starts out with his paws and digs the grave. And the lion helps nudge her body as he tries to push her body into the grave. And then the lion uses his paws to cover the grave again. Zosimos, she had made him promise not to say anything about her until after her death.